I am very suspicious, as I suspect many of you are as well, of Mrs. Charlie Kirk, Erika Kirk. I don't know what to make of her. I don't want to jump to conclusions. I have my suspicions, as I suspect many people do. So I'm going to leave it to this young lady who I came across on Instagram, had this to say about Erika Kirk.
Kirk has deep connections to Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and the State of Israel. The supposed grieving wife and mother is going to be taking over Turning Point USA. So here's some facts about her that I think the public has a right to know.
Now, before she gets into it, I just want to say there is nothing suspicious on the surface that she has taken over Turning Point USA as of this moment. She is his widow, as far as I know. So that in itself, I don't think is entirely surprising. That's not to say that she isn't going to be taking funding from certain people, like Ben Shapiro. I just want everybody to know I'm giving $1 million to Turning Point USA because reasons.
And that nobody else is reporting on. Around 2009 to 2010, even though Erika had never modeled before or participated in a beauty pageant, she received an invitation in the mail to participate in the Miss USA beauty pageants, which were owned by Donald Trump. In 2012, she won the Miss Arizona competition. And at the same time, according to her website, she was also a casting director at the same time she was modeling for Trump.
Okay, there is definitely a Trump connection here. How deep it goes, I can't say. On the surface, it doesn't look good right off the bat. But I will say this. Erika Kirk is attractive enough. She's not my type, but I can see people that would be attracted to her. I don't think that that's out of step. Beauty pageant winning pretty? I mean, I leave that up to people to decide on their own. I hate beauty pageants. I hate that shit. So, to each their own. But when I read that she was Miss Arizona and she had 5 years on Charlie, yeah, immediately the spidey senses, if you will, decided to percolate just a little bit.
In 2006, she started a ministry when she was just 17 years old. This ministry was working with the U.S. military in Romania. At the same time, she claimed to be working as a casting director. The area in Romania where Erika was operating her ministry out of had a ton of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country.
Now, one really has to ask themselves, is there any particular tie-in here with certain people that are no longer with us that had something to do with trafficking? Here's one thing I think you guys should know, and I know this on pretty good authority from people that have experience dealing with sex trafficking. You would be surprised, maybe even shocked, at how many women are involved in this. And I'm not talking about women that are being trafficked. I'm talking about women that are trafficking women and children. It's far worse than you think.
These children were being found in Israel, the UK, and undisclosed private islands. The locals demand.
Now, what private island could she be talking about? How was Israel involved in this? How was there any direct connection to Mrs. Kirk and the State of Israel? One has to ask themselves, was Charlie honeypotted into this marriage? I'm not saying that he wasn't interested in her. What I am saying is that Charlie probably did have a type. The people around him knew what that type was, and they knew exactly who to set him up with. He probably expressed as much. I'd like to get married. This is the type of lady I'd like to meet. And the next thing you know, poof, she appears. And all these pieces just magically fit together perfectly like a puzzle.
Demanded that the authorities look into this. And shocker, they never did. But her ministry was kicked out of Romania. In 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump started working with Charlie Kirk, Erika and Charlie were introduced to one another after one of their mutual friends suggested that Charlie should hire her to work for Turning Point.
Well, I think the big question now is, who is that mutual friend that decided to bring the two of them together? Now, I'm not here to tell you that it is absolutely the Donald that did it. I'm not going there. But who is that friend? It is fair to say that somebody probably did introduce these two. And if they did, who's that person? I don't think that's too much to ask. I would imagine most people would probably want to know. I know I do.
So at Erika's job interview with Charlie, Erika allegedly said, "You're not going to be my boss. You're going to be my boyfriend." So they began dating.
All right, I'm not going there, and I'm not willing to just arbitrarily take that on its surface and say that's exactly how it went down. But is it entirely conceivable that she did apply for a job and that she was very flirtatious with him and he liked it and she was really his type and what he was looking for? Yes, it's certainly possible. They did end up getting married and having 2 children, didn't they?
I think it's safe to assume that this mutual friend was Donald Trump, because Erika was already one of his employees, so it would make sense for his team to encourage this.
That is not to say that Trump is the person who actually introduced them, but is it suggested amongst the ranks of which Trump was involved that they were introduced? Sure. I don't think that that's a stretch at all.
Beauty pageants are a well-known gateway for human trafficking. So with her being a casting director, her ministry working with the military in Romania and being asked to leave, along with her very strange behavior of capitalizing on the death of her husband, I think this should be of immense concern to us all. Random people do not get propped up by the mainstream media out of nowhere. That includes Charlie Kirk, whose father had deep connections to Donald Trump even before he started working with Charlie Kirk.
Now, for those of you who don't know this little caveat and why there is something really sinister going on here, it turns out that Erica Kirk's father is a casino developer who was the chief architect of the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. That just happens to be the hotel and casino that sits right next to Trump Plaza. These guys have known each other for a long time. We're talking well before Charlie Kirk was even an itch in his father's balls. There are no coincidences here. There is no question that there is more than what meets the eye than this supposed patsy that either loved furries or loved Nick Fuentes and decided to do the deed. I hope that most people, especially here, are starting to get it.
All of these people that you see on TV run in the same circles, and anybody with ties to human trafficking should not be trusted. So comment below and let me know, did you know about her ties to Trump and the beauty pageants and this ministry that she operated in Romania? Let's chat about this.
Well, I think that'll be the last time I put up a video with a lady who feels the need to dress a certain way to draw attention. No, I just want to hear your content, not your content. But very important information nonetheless, and we appreciate it. And with that said, there's one other person who has a very strong opinion about whether or not Erika Kirk is everything that people perceive her to be. And that person is none other than Nick Fuentes.
We are being led to believe is that Erika Kirk is the archetypal trad girl. Isn't that the perception they're cultivating? When you look at some of these clips, she's supposed to be the ultimate trad wife. She's speaking at the Young Women's Leadership Summit. She's on podcasts saying, oh my gosh, I can't focus because I'm so in love with Charlie. If he's here, I can't focus. I'm so smitten.
One thing I will say that I agree with Nick on this is this point. It's not even so much that it's Erika Kirk as much as it's one of Charlie's main handlers, Andrew Colvett. There's something very sinister about that guy. The way he talks, the way he conducts business. You know, Jen has often said, keep an eye out for the people who stand to gain the most when somebody of immense power and influence and financial control has their demise. Who stands to gain the most as a result? Andrew Colvett was one of those people. But then again, so is Erika Kirk. I don't know what to believe, but I know where the real evidence is taking this. On the one hand, Nick says that Israel had nothing to do with this. But on the other hand, he's willing to bury Erika Kirk where she stands. Methinks that there is a little bit of this opportunism that's coming from Nick Fuentes. He's not the only one. But I mind that people pay close attention.
Like, that's the character that she's playing. That's the character that they're selling us. Her husband gets shot in the neck graphically in front of everybody. Shouldn't Miss Tradwife, shouldn't she be like despondent? And I'm not trying to judge how people grieve. It's not our position to judge how they grieve or what their response is. Maybe she's just got unbelievable resolve. But if she really is the ultimate trad wife who knows her place and is a helper to her husband, a helpmate, and she's so smitten with him and she's the perfect trad wife like how she's been presented to us for years, then when her husband gets shot in the neck and blood starts spurting everywhere in front of everybody who starts screaming and running away, shouldn't she be like in shock? Shouldn't she be like in a catatonic state or crying and be in a veil as a widow somewhere?
Well, who's to say that she wasn't? I think you're being a little too presumptuous about the way that she dealt with this. There are people who have this idea that Erika Kirk is just naturally guilty and had something to do with her husband's demise. Now, I'm not willing to go there yet. I reserve judgment. I still think there is more that needs to come out, but do I think that she could have been at a bare minimum an unwilling participant? Yeah. And the reason I say that is because there's two young kids involved. If it was just her, I wouldn't think anything of it. But there are two innocent children, you know, kind of like the Palestinian children that didn't ask for this. They don't want any part of this. And the only thing they know is that they're never going to see their father again. And who's to say that Erika didn't get a talking to that made very clear they've already lost their father. You don't want them to lose their mother too, do you? And that's how simple the conversation goes.
But that's not what we got at all. The second he dies, she takes over Turning Point. That happened like 2 days later. She's all of a sudden the president of this $500 million organization. Super influential, now super powerful after Charlie became a martyr, and she's given speeches. She's given a speech, and the speech, I'm sorry, it's totally canned. The first speech she gave next to his empty chair, she's like doing this weird affect, wiping away tears that aren't there with this scripted speech, you know, the battle cry of this widow, the cries of this widow will echo like a, and then
I will admit that I thought that that speech was odd, but I don't necessarily think it was completely out of step. What I thought was odd, my opinion, was when she goes up there at the memorial with the tears saying, I forgive him. You don't even know if that's the guy who did the crime. And you forgive him? Okay, that's weird. And that's suspicious.
And at the WWE memorial, she comes out to fireworks and she does this like she's Mary in her white suit, her makeup, her hair did. And she goes out with fireworks at her husband's fucking funeral like this. She fucking posed. Did you see that? And then she goes up and says, yeah, I'm running Turning Point now. And this is how it's giving me like Claire Underwood vibes.
Well, I don't know if she's as savvy as Claire Underwood. And if you have not seen, I don't watch much TV ever. Like, I am extremely limited. I don't have any streaming services. I don't have any time for that stuff. However, I did watch House of Cards. Now, when I did watch it, I kind of binged it. I just went through it all. And I will say this, if you have never seen the show, especially the first 3 seasons, I highly recommend it. Think what you want about Kevin Spacey. It's understandable. Same with Robin Wright. But let me tell you, and the great Bill Clinton once said that if anybody ever did a show that is as consistent and honest, of which I am neither, of what actually goes on Capitol Hill, that's the show. Now, if Bill Clinton says that the show to watch, if you really want to know how business is conducted on Capitol Hill, that's the show. So Claire Underwood vibes, you say, Nick Fuentes? Okay. Perhaps.
I think that was an arranged marriage. And either she was like a handler or she had political ambitions of her own. But yeah, I don't know. Look, who is Erika Kirk now?
Yeah, I think there is definitely enough evidence on the surface, circumstantial as it may be, to suggest that their marriage had some elements of arrangement, if not outright. That's fair.
This is a person that is being foisted on us. Look, don't get me wrong. You lost your husband. I am deeply sorry for you. I really am. I'm praying for you. I am deeply sorry for you. I can't imagine what you're going through.
On the one hand, he may be speaking truth, but on the other hand, Nick Fuentes, like anybody else at that level, is a businessman, and he is looking out for Nick Fuentes first and foremost. I'm not saying that he wants to take over Turning Point USA, but do I think that he feels that he has enough gravitas to grab a chunk of Charlie Kirk's audience, despite the things he said about him before his demise? Yeah, I do.
But you becoming president of Turning Point and now being foisted upon us, that's an altogether different story. You know, it's like I said on Monday, and Alex Jones didn't like this. He said it was mean. A lot of people didn't like it. You want our sympathy? You got it. You want our prayers? You got it. People would, walk over broken glass for this widow who can even sympathize, who can even understand what she's going through right now. But they're asking us to accept her as like this new leader. They're foisting her on us as a political leader, and that I don't like.
Well, who else is it going to be? Who is going to take over Turning Point USA, assuming that it can sustain itself without Charlie Kirk? Because it does seem that they have a problem with raising money. That's why they took $1 million from Ben Shapiro. Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Andrew Colvett. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of layers to this onion. Are they going to get peeled? I think Nick's kind of in the ballpark, but not completely, at least not yet.
I don't like that because that's manipulative. That is predatory. She's the widow. Who can criticize her? She's a widow. Who could ever say anything negative about her?
So therein lies the rub. You put her in the front, you have her do that. Who is the person suggesting that she be the leader? Because it certainly isn't her. I don't get any vibes from her that she would even have any clue as to how to handle it. Yes, I would say that she probably has a handler. That's the most likely circumstance.
They're exploiting that. She's untouchable. She's beyond reproach. She's the victim of the tragedy. It's like when a victim of a school shooting starts running an anti-gun nonprofit. You know, it's like March for Our Lives, because who could criticize a kid that almost got killed in a school shooting? It's giving me vibes. I don't like that. I don't like when...
Now, that's a direct shot at David Hogue and anybody else who has used the tragedy of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas to basically make careers off of it. That's always been my criticism of David Hogue, and that's never going to change. And I was very close to where that shooting happened.
And some victim of some atrocity is then presented as a political figure, because it's like, okay, who the fuck are you? You're the victim of some tragedy? That sounds like a really shitty thing to say, but it's like, how do I know you're not being controlled by somebody? Because quite honestly, we knew who Charlie Kirk was and he built the organization. We have no idea who you are. What makes you qualified to run Turning Point? Because your husband got killed? What makes you qualified? We don't know anything about you. We don't know where you came from. We don't know anything about you. For all we know, you are working for some other person, or now the board is going to run it. Now,
okay. You've come this far, Nick. You've made it very clear you don't think that Erika Kirk is capable of running TPUSA. And I would agree with you that she probably isn't. Then again, I don't know who is, but you're also not willing to go where the evidence is clearly pointing. Somebody had something to gain in a very substantial way, and you're not touching it. Just like you said, there's no way Israel was involved with this. And you've been very silent about what's been coming out regarding this patsy. They tried to blame you right out of the chute. They were going to blame anybody on the right. It was going to be you, Nick Fuentes. You got your mind right pretty quick on that. Now, you're making some decent points here, but it's almost like you're trying to avoid saying that little country in the Middle East, for some reason, at the tip of your tongue, but you can't say it. I wonder why.
some shadowy force is going to run Turning Point through you, or you represent. We don't know. We don't know who you are. But no one can say that because she's a widow, and that I don't like. Because this is a high-profile killing. It is forcing people to ask a lot of questions. And this is the one aspect of it that we're not allowed to ask questions about because it's in bad taste. Well, you know what? This is politics. If you want to speak at the funeral, no one's going to question that. But you seize control of the organization right away, I'm seizing the reins. And no one dare question me because I'm a widow. Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm sure you don't. But then again, maybe there's legal attachments regarding who takes over. You know, as hard as it is to believe, even somebody as young as 31, when you have that much money that is at your disposal, that you control, that you have to oversee, it is entirely likely that a last will and testament has already been put together regarding control of the organization. You don't know that. But maybe there is. And that's not necessarily public information, no matter how profile somebody might be. On the one hand, do I think it is right to suspect that there's something off about Erica Kirk? Yes. It's also true that you're not telling the whole story, Nick Fuentes. And if you're not going to tell the full story, then people have every right to suspect you and what your intentions are. My suspicion isn't that he wants to take over TPUSA. My suspicion is that he's trying to get that audience that Charlie cultivated for a very long time to come over to him.